Hello and welcome to Five Guys, Movies, and Fries. We recommend movies to each other to discuss and just mess them up when we feel like gushing about them here on the cast. This is the end of a personal recommendation of movies, and I ended the run with Phil Tippett's Mad God. Phil Tippett, if no one's familiar, if you pretty much have him to thank, immense thanks for a lot of the visual direction you've seen in blockbusters since Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, fucking Star Wars, and just tons of others you can think of.
Twilight.
Yeah.
Is that really?
This was the movie's said to have been 30 years in the making. However, there was a 20-year hiatus a little bit after Jurassic Park. Phil Tippett thought stop motion animation was going to be falling apart. It's some creative fears, but the movie is the movie start with you follow an assassin going through multiple layers of what seems like hell, and it's much more of a visual masterpiece than anything. But I'll say this is not just a must myself. This is not just a must-see movie; it's a must-own movie. But we'll roll into initial thoughts here.
We need intros.
Oh yeah, and I'm so sorry. I've been rambling on. We have with us Jeff.
Yo.
Will.
Hello.
Joe.
Hey there, how's it going?
And we got our first guest on the cast, my cousin Dan.
Hey. Woo.
Right on. So yeah, initial thoughts, guys. I want to start with Jeff.
Yeah, I fucking love this movie, man. This movie is really, really good. I've always been a huge fan of practical effects. I really like featurettes for movies that have strong practical effects. I like just watching people work on them. There's always a lot of passion, I feel, you see from people who are responsible for stuff like this. Definitely with this project, for sure. There's a lot of choices that he made in this movie that I think really added to it. He concentrates on footfalls a lot, which is a small thing, but if you watch other movies with stop motion like this, walking always looks stilted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, it not only doesn't, but he focuses on it, which is such a flex, it feels like.
It looks so realistic at times. It's unbelievably impressive.
Do you think those other ones look stilted mainly from the frames? Or is it...
I recall hearing...
Probably a combination of the frames and the physical structure of the model that they're using, I guess.
I remember hearing in some video that I watched somewhere that animators say that walking is one of the hardest things to animate. So they usually use like shorthand to avoid it. Like you usually won't see like a character's feet in a frame. You'll just see their legs move when they walk, things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, this feels like a masterpiece to me. This definitely feels like a magnum opus, like a passion project. I love the blend of live action performances with the stop motion and the way that they're just there. Like any scene that you see with The Last Human, I think he's billed as that guy who's sending people down in the diving bell. It's hard to tell in some shots if it is live action or if it is stop motion. In one of the featurettes I watched, they had an actor in the suit that they take the diving bell down.
Okay, yeah.
So they had somebody dressed up for some of those scenes. They actually built the diving bell. Like they have a full-scale diving bell that they had somebody climb into. Which you can tell he liked because he uses it any chance that he gets. He's constantly getting that thing in shots. Yeah, overall, I think it was just really solid. I had a fun time watching it. The one issue I had was the fact that they bring a second assassin in later in the movie and then just kind of drop his thread altogether. I don't know if you guys really caught that.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I was so confused about that.
So I was on the argument that when we see the first assassin we see go down into the depths and gets captured and brought to the surgeon's ward, we see the surgeon drop a scope into their skull. And so I feel like it's taking us back. You see through the scope the surface, and the first the scientist, the last man creating, sending these assassins down into the depths, has what I feel it could be the like an initial map, because the map we see during the first half of the movie is paper and it's crumbling, it's falling apart. And this map that we see go down with this assassin in the vision is made out of skin or whatever. It's pieced together. So I feel like we're witnessing the journey of a previous assassin, maybe not the first one, through the scope, through what the surgeon's ward is witnessing.
Okay.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm going with it, because I know that that does become a real off point. Like it can disconnect. It seems like it can kind of disconnect what's going on.
Regardless of where it takes place, like in the timeline, regardless if it's showing us something from the past or if it's actually happening in the present or in the future, either way, we follow this character as he takes this trail down, and then he just drops off the map. Like we just don't see him again. We see him driving down that little circular path down to wherever he's going, and then he just disappears. I was really hoping that we would at least see him show back up in the field. You know what I mean? Like, but I might have been asking too much in regards to like plot and narrative, because that doesn't really feel like the focus of this movie.
Yeah,
so it kind of feels weird, like focusing on that. But
I was gonna say, I feel like that section where he's just continually going down into that essentially never ending hole, I think that's kind of like the whole point, right? Like he's just supposed to keep looping, and like that's part of like the guy like suffering, right? Because like when he was listening to the clock noises and they kept like speeding up but then slowing down, and it was like almost set up specifically to be as maddening as possible. Like I think those scenes kind of lend credence to the idea that maybe this just is hell and these people are just like being tortured like hell, like they're in hell. You know what I mean?
I'm constantly falling back to the Leviticus quotes at the beginning of the movie. Someone has angered the gods. They have laid waste to everything that was created, and we're witnessing the last man dropping peas down a fucking well, but that's there's a lot left to the imagination, and there's also stuff that you really wish would have been completed. I get that. Like there's very little narrative structure to what's going on. It's much more of a visual masterpiece than anything. But anyway,
I do kind of like that. I do kind of like that about it, though, that like they leave it so vague and mysterious. It just, I don't know, it gives more credence to this being like realistic in my eyes. Like because we don't know. We're just the viewers, right?
You got more initial thoughts, Jeff?
Just a little bit. One thing that I really want to praise this movie for is how well it does its world building, just in regards to its set and its characters. This is like the epitome of show don't tell. There's so many. It's almost like we're getting peeks into this ecosystem. Like that first bit with that thing that crawls out of the barrel after catching that other creature on the hook, and then that one dude comes down and then big just chops him up. Yeah, and like there's no purpose to that. It's just a world build and like really sink you into it. And I think it really does a great job of that. You know what I mean? It's just,
there's even a point where I thought that giant, wide tooth cleaver wielding fucking tit monster was also like the thing barking baby orders at the fucking hairy humanoid fucking shit people.
There's an absurd amount of poop and baby noises in this movie.
Yep.
A lot.
So much.
Will, you got initial thoughts?
Yeah. This movie is phenomenal. A true piece of art for sure. Maybe the best stop motion animated movie ever. Probably.
Definitely one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. The imagery in this movie is just unbelievable. It's some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. I mean, that fucking the whole movie is obviously fucking wild. The intro is so fucking epic. I was like kind of like on the fence about this movie, and then I started watching it, and that intro hits with like the clouds coming down and everything from that
Mhm.
tower, and it looks so good, and the sound design is so good, and it immediately sucked me in, dude. And I spent the next hour and 20 minutes just drooling from how fucking amazing this movie is. Yeah, I don't know, man. Just a lot of that imagery is just so unique. A lot of it almost was Geiger-esque in ways, like not necessarily like a cop of his style, but just so strange and grotesque and maybe vaguely sexual at times and other weird shit like that. Like, I don't know. I love all that kind of stuff. It just like makes movies fucking wild and interesting to me. And
Or
this movie has a lot of
overtly
that.
sexual.
Or
in a lot of
overtly
ways.
sexual. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
absolutely.
there's one bit where a man puts his whole head into a vagina, and then
Yes.
there's another bit where a mannequin is flicking her bean in a puddle of blood in the
Yeah.
corner of a room.
Yeah, dude.
Not to mention the Minotaur getting jerked off by canaries in the alleyway.
Yup.
Like,
Yup. Yeah.
I had in my notes the doll? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Jesus. Yeah, just like the scene where like the head is like eating the waist or whatever, and then you can see it being like converted like as he's going down into like different stuff, and then it at the very bottom is being turned into those like ash zombies or whatever. Like,
That's that world building.
holy shit, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
like didn't say a fucking word. We learned a shitload of stuff. We also got a shitload of more questions, and the whole time we watched the most grotesque, insanely well like stop motion animated thing of all time. Like, it's, I don't know, this entire movie is just a fucking ride, dude, and I really loved it. I could go on for a while, so I'll just pitch it to Joe.
Yeah. Thanks for wrecking this, Knack. It's a great wreck. Never seen it
Awesome.
before. I don't know if you had any of you guys seen it before.
Nope.
Yeah, I initially watched this movie probably about 6 months ago.
I figured you had.
Yeah.
I had not. No, I had not seen it.
Neither had I.
Okay. Yeah, this was not on my radar. I didn't know anything about it going into it, but I remember you talking about it, and it all kind of came back how it was a stop motion thing, and this guy worked on it for 30 years. But I didn't know who Phil Tippett was or his credentials. And I gotta say, this was surprising. I had no idea this was going to be just like a video collage with a very loose semblance of story and plot. There's almost no plot to this. I mean, you guys are talking about characters and things that happen, but
there's little to no story here. There's just very
That's just
very
me
thin.
clinging on to whatever I can.
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
But to say, that's to say that it gives the viewer also just so much of their own visual imagination, so much imagination to go off of just by the visual image that you're getting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Phil Tippett described it as like a video collage.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
I do like that. I do like these kinds of movies. There's not that many, but you get to project your own philosophy onto it. Obviously, Phil Tippett probably, just loves gross stuff. Maybe he's a nihilist. I don't know. I don't know what he thinks.
Well, he kickstarted this movie.
Yeah, he
That's
got
right.
help with Kickstarter to get it completed, sure.
He also said like this was just like his catharsis making this in his studio. Like he would work on other movies, but this is what he wants to make.
Yeah.
So
he was frightened to release it in the 90s because he didn't think people would absorb it, would just swat it away.
Yeah.
Well, there's
he made the right call.
I do think so. It's even though like
2022.
I tried to say
yeah.
with an adult mind that I could have watched it in the 90s and like enjoyed it, but that's still just a very small percentage of what he wanted. Yeah.
Well, he talked in one of the featurettes I watched. He brought on a bunch of other people who wanted to work on stop motion and practical effects, but were stuck in the CG universe that we live in now. And just let them run rampant. He would he's like, if you make a mistake, that's fine. We'll just include it in the piece. I'm not going to make you remake it. Like, we want those mistakes. We want those mishaps. We want to put them in the movie. like that level of care that he brought shows, like even
It's
when
amazing.
we see live action people, they move in a way that makes them appear stop motion.
Yeah.
Yep. The nurse, especially, like she looks
Yeah.
so fucking so weird.
You got more, Joe?
Yeah, I gotta say that we've already talked about it. The world building in this is like next level. Definitely in line with H.R. Geiger, Guillermo del Toro. His best work, not his least best work, but Blade Runner, even George Lucas. Like all these great people who can create strange characters, but also have a strange world to put their characters in. This is like the best example of an alien world with alien creatures in it.
Yeah. Is this supposed to be like a post-apocalyptic?
I think it is more supposed to be
Earth?
like, or yeah,
Okay.
post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, I mean, I've still going back to those Leviticus quotes, like I will plague and make your land so desolate, the enemies who conquer it from you will be appalled by it. Like,
Yeah.
it's absolute fucking hell. These are just multiple levels of hell that have become that were once Earth, possibly. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has a very Dante
Oh yeah,
feel to it.
easily
Yes.
Dante's Inferno feelings for sure.
Yep. Very
The title-
dystopic.
Yeah. Were you all wrapped up with yours, Joe?
Not quite. The title of this movie kind of reminds me a little bit of Sorcerer. It's kind of a stretch, but if you've ever seen that movie, you watch it and you're like,
The
there
William
was no
Friedkin sorcerer.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
okay, yeah.
But like you watch that movie and you're like, where was the sorcerer? There was no sorcerer in that movie.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
director said that the sorcerer is the cruel wizard of fate that was punishing the people in the movie.
Oh yeah.
I feel
Wow.
like the mad god is Phil Tippett.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
get behind
That's
that.
nice.
Was there a specific character that was supposed to be the mad god?
I think the only thing I can think of is the opening scene with where we see what I believe so the tower, the first initial tower, so the spiraling tower at the beginning, we see a character on top what looks like the wraith creature who carries
alchemist.
No, the alchemist is the guy with the boils on his face.
Yeah,
Oh, is
the
he
little
really?
gnome thing.
I'm
Yep.
talking about who looks like it looks like Murgo's wet nurse from Bloodborne. She's got she's about to hand the nurse is about to hand the infant off to him. So that looks like a similar figure to what's on top of the tower, raising their hands up, and they get struck by fucking lightning at the top of that tower. And so that's the only reference to who the mad gods are. They're up at the top of this tower trying to praise the god, and it's like, nope, blam, you're dead.
Now, I read The Last Human as the god because he's
Okay.
like sending his angels down to Earth to try and remove whatever's down there. You know what? He's like trying to control the Earth by sending his people down.
Okay.
They're taking bombs. I mean, they got some kind of goal, right?
I would take I guess I take it as the mad god not being visually not actually being shown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Phil Tippett being the mad god is definitely the better read.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. What'd you think about it, Dan?
I mean, right off the bat, I have an appreciation, and I think so many people have touched on this and said it well. Like anybody that's going to put this much into it, whether it was 10 years or 20 years on the shelf, whatever it may be, and then wanting to sit on it and not release it, I can definitely understand that until it was like complete, quote unquote. For me, I've never done anything really with stop motion personally, so I have less of a understanding for how that process works, but I have, seen a little bit behind the scenes as far as my colleagues and stuff that have done a lot of work for like Robot Chicken and stuff like that, and have explained just how much goes into the littlest bit. And I think like people have always told me, and this is something I've always believed, like there's 3 films: the one that you write, the one you shoot, and then the final edit. It's just like what it becomes.
Nice.
And this to me felt so much like a perfect example of that. He had a vision in his head, and it was something that he wrote obviously decades ago and had been working, to try to get this out. And then there's the one you shoot, this amalgamation of all of these things, and like Jeff was saying, touching on the animators bringing people in, and then there's the final edit. And I think as much as I really love and appreciate so much of this film, I wasn't as stoked on it in terms of like, I want to watch this again, but I would give that credit to the film because it was so effective. Meaning, this got to me. This was a hard watch.
Yeah, right on.
It was I agree it was a masterpiece, and I wouldn't say I didn't like it because I certainly did. There was parts of it that I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad it was made. I don't feel the need to revisit it. The one thing, and I'm sure I will, because now that we've talked about this so much, I have to go back and look at these points that you guys have made now.
Yeah.
But what seemed to be the biggest thing for me was it was almost Nolan-esque in a way, and I know that's a weird connection to make, but it seemed to be so time obsessed. The whole thing was focused around time. And I looked for a plot. I looked for the 8-sequence structure. Where's our protagonist? Who are we following? And when I understood, going in after about 30 minutes that was not the case, that, there was not necessarily a complete structure here, I was totally fine with it and ready to accept it for what it was. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. I also think, to comment on what someone said about shooting actors, or shooting animation of someone walking is the most difficult thing. I can not only attest to that, but I can agree shooting actors just walking normally is one of the most difficult things you've ever done on set. That should be simple. It's like, okay, I just need you to walk behind. You're in soft focus. Just walk right behind them and just walk out of frame. It's like, do I walk fast? Do you want me to put like a little attitude on the walk? No. Just need you to walk. It needs to just look natural, normal. Got it. So like a spunky power walk. Great. Awesome. It is equally difficult. It's like, cut her feet off. What is she doing with her feet? Just what is she doing? So I agree, it is the most difficult thing to shoot, animate, whatever. Is people just can't do the walk. But yeah, that was the biggest pieces of it for me, were like, these are people that are either in heaven or what remains of the people who are in purgatory and not in hell. And hell seems to be constant death, which results in reanimation and death again, and time doesn't move. Meaning there's no beginning and end. We're not seeing scenes play out. It's just time. It's just the same thing happening over and over again. We're just moving the camera over. So like, and that's not a criticism of the film, that's a compliment. It's like, instead of seeing the beginning, middle, and end, we see the same 30 seconds of time passage, and we see it happening over and over again. First, we see something happening where, he's looking through his binoculars, we're seeing in the window. We're going to see that same 30 seconds repeated again, only from a different perspective. This time it's this beast getting jerked off in the alleyway. Now we're going to see that same 30 seconds again, except for it's a perspective of someone who is in a different torture room. Some people that are outside the torture room, they get rolled over by the steamroller. They now become goop. That goop turns into drops that goes as a part of the next person's torture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So time is never moving forward. We're just seeing the same 30 seconds or the same 10 seconds or the same 50 years over and over and over again. That's what it felt like to me. I thought that was a really cool way to show that. And if you look at every scene, there's no way to differentiate whether it happened before or after. Meaning is this after he drove the car into the thing? I think he drove the car in that same sequence. We're just seeing a different part of it. We're seeing him show up. And that's kind of how I felt.
You're seeing the same event happening under multiple lenses, and
right. Like if the whole event took 10 minutes, we're seeing that 10 minutes from a different camera angle. Okay. The world exists as it is. It's just repeating death. Death becomes death becomes death. It eats itself. It becomes more death. It's constant suffering. And
It
heaven,
does-
quote unquote, trying to destroy that is trying to start time again with this bomb, destroying
why
this
at the
constant
end-
death loop.
Okay. That's why
Yeah,
at the
is-
end, like, the clock starts again.
Exactly. When this
Cool.
final bomb goes off, the clock starts again, and heaven, and the reason I'm putting that in quotes is because I don't think these were supposed to be angelic beings. I think these are who remain. So they started the clock again. They stopped this constant cycle of death and whatever that means. And that's kind of how I saw it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
It definitely feels like cycles are very important in this movie. We see cycles represented in a lot of way.
Yeah.
Constant representation of time, just over and over. And it moving in directions counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise. You know, just it's
Yeah.
not going anywhere.
I definitely like your perspective with, seeing a repeating event. I'm seeing, I guess I'm a little bit different because we see when the first assassin we witness brings that bomb down, brings the bomb
Mhm.
down, sets it, the timer stops before it detonates. And it's not until
Exactly.
which
And
it's-
that's
it's-
why I was
it's-
going to say it's the same
it
guy.
doesn't it's it- and so and then we continue with seeing the infant that's taken out of that first assassin and
Yeah.
made into golden fucking glitter dust, and then thrown into a cosmic eldritch portal to cause another creation of another universe. And it's not until that universe is finished in its creation that the detonation goes off, that we hit that 12 mark on the bomb.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
it's to me it's more like there is a mad god, and we're because even humanity won't be wouldn't be ended by itself, but would anger the gods to the point where it puts that world through eternal hell, through
Eternal.
unending torment,
Yes.
just like the Leviticus quotes describe. But
Right.
yes, anyway, I wanted to throw that in there.
Absolutely.
Uh,
I didn't realize until you, multiple. Everyone seems to think that there's more than one assassin, which there clearly is, based on what you guys are saying. In my brain, that was the same dude,
yeah,
and so I never lost that connection. Like when we saw him drive away in the car, because he came right back, and I was like, "Oh, there he is." I must have been.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's great when you could just take on a very certain perspective from one point in the movie and then hold to that. That's something I have difficulty doing. That's something
Right.
The fact that we can have this conversation because we have multiple reads on the movie, in my opinion, is what makes this movie fucking phenomenal.
Thank you.
I
'Cause
could not agree more. Could not agree more.
loose
It's
enough to where
beautiful
we
art.
can all read into what we want. You know what I mean? Like what I take away is completely different from what you take away.
And that's
Yes.
what makes it tough for me to see people like 10 out of 10 visual movie was shit, like
Right.
because there wasn't any story. I get it. I really get it. Like it's, with a lot of things, you want to be able to hold on to a thread to follow along to a story, and like there's still so much happening in this hour and a half of just magic happening.
Carnage.
Really. Well, yeah, magic and carnage, and it's just all just boiling in front of us.
It's
just struggling to
effective art.
Yeah.
I'm just struggling to figure out where this fits in the MCU timeline.
Right. I think 91. Right before the BK Kids Club and their introduction. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Which of the assassins is your guy's waifu?
Panics, Google's waifu. Shit. I don't know what that means.
there was
It's some anime bullshit.
Oh, okay.
there were a couple times where I have fun with the scenes going on when we see the assassin walking by these 6 large figures on shitters, just shitting, getting
Yeah.
electrocuted through their fucking skulls and shitting.
Dude.
Just
I'm like,
blasted.
this is Hollywood. This is what's happening in Hollywood right now. This is there's just
The electric chair
where my
thing,
brain
yeah.
took me with that,
Yeah.
but just it's being shit. It's producers getting fed bullshit on how to produce a movie, and they shit something out. It gets blown into somebody's mouth. It gets
Yep.
sprayed into somebody's mouth and then processed. And now we have these hairy little, like, cringe creators that are just getting flattened by blocks and stomped on by tit cows. And
That's
Yeah.
the only part in the movie that felt like it was kind of bludgeoning me over the head. Just a little. It's like a little too on the nose. You know what I
Holy
mean?
shit.
on a very gory, bloody nose.
Yeah.
But
Well, and that's the thing is, it was written 20 years ago. What was going on in his mind in
Yeah.
terms of what was in his? I don't think when he, and I can't speak for him, obviously, but I don't think when he wrote this, he was like, I'm releasing this.
It
in
wasn't a finished
2021.
product. Yeah.
Right. Like for that scene, I wonder what sparked that for him, because that's what it pulled up for you. I wonder what it was that he saw. Was it just pure capitalism? Was it?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say is, like, I feel like there's probably so much of this movie that has so many, like, meanings that nobody will ever fucking be able to know or dive into.
Well,
That's
that
called
was
the
the thing.
David
He
Lynch
said-
effect.
Yeah.
It only matters
exactly.
to him.
Exactly. This is so Lynchian in so many ways. Like, I really felt a lot of Lynch.
I
in
will
this,
give
for sure.
this the good parts of Lynch that I adore. This is very reminiscent of that raw,
Yes.
unabridged creativity, being unafraid to lack. And in this situation, I would consider just very okay. And in certain David Lynch films, I feel the same way, and in others, I couldn't feel less or so.
Yeah.
Like
It's
if I'm
like-
talking Mulholland Drive, get that the fuck out of here. If we're
I
talking, Elephant Man, all day long. If we're talking Eraserhead type shit, yes, love it. Wild at Heart, give me that raw, weird shit. Inland
Yep.
Empire, you can eat my butthole. Not a film.
It's
Go
not
fuck
a
yourself.
movie.
Not a movie.
Not a movie.
Not happening. I don't care how they're gonna take away my Criterion card. Okay, I'm gonna hold the camera for 8 hours. We're gonna get this done.
So I keep
Great.
falling back on one I probably said, I may have said it on the cast before. Whenever I see somebody shit on something I like, or just sort of just unthoughtfully bashing something that actually deserves a little bit more credit, it's that art. It's basically just what you're saying is artists are going to make art. They're not
All
going to.
day.
They should not give a fuck of the reception or anybody's general opinion. It's
If they're
Exactly.
trying hard and giving
if
it their
you're-
all, it's
if
beautiful.
you're folding under anybody's sway, you're losing. Well, of course, that's not I'm not talking about collaboration. This was clearly a collaborative effort, and so much passion and just love for what film and animation does is all right here. It's all right in front of us.
And being a talented artist, in my opinion, is understanding when you are falling under sway, or when you're able to take in and receive notes like, hey, this doesn't make any fucking sense. You're right. We need to put this in, as opposed to being like, look, it's my vision. Go, you know what I mean?
Have
knowing the
constructive
difference.
feedback rather than shitting on
You're
something you
right.
don't like. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's universal shit.
That's just being
Exactly.
an adult.
Right. And I feel like Phil, especially, to his credit, there's no way you're getting this done on your own. If he was going to be a nitpicky asshole about every little thing, you know what I mean? This never would have been finished.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen this. Yeah.
He had to accept exactly, the help that he was given, and look at the beautiful thing he was able to do with this team. It was beautiful. Imagine someone picking this apart, like, I don't like this monster. Get this out of here.
Yeah.
Fucking scrap this scene. They spent like 11 months making it. Like, really, man?
It would have been ruined.
I don't need it.
It would have
I'm
been
just
ruined.
I'm glued to the screen. I don't need.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
not having
every
that thread
frame
is
was
just having a
necessary.
thread would have held things back.
It was
Agreed.
so hard for me to take notes for this movie.
Yeah.
I
Same.
just didn't want to look away.
Real difficult. Yeah.
Dude, my notes are all like super large font because I wasn't looking at my page when I was writing them. I was
Which
just
is
like, oh
great,
yeah,
fine.
holy fuck, this is amazing. I definitely think if you're not making art for you, then you're fucking up. And I mean, yeah,
Agreed.
if obviously if you're like a fucking like extra in Hollywood or something, and you're just like doing extra work to get money to live, that's different. But if
But that's
you are
still
like
making art for you.
Huh?
You're doing it to pay your rent. That's still making art for you. That extra's still
that's fair.
making art for them.
That's fair.
know?
That's totally fair. But you know what I mean? Like if you are
All
like
day,
actively
yeah.
creating something, especially from like nothing, like if you're not making that, that's like with this podcast, like I wouldn't do this if it was like for like a business reason or something. I just enjoy talking to my friends
All
and
day.
and my friend's cousin about movies.
Right. And I think to be fair and to add to your point, it takes a tremendous amount of artistic maturity to put your work out there after this much time has gone by and you've won Academy Awards and you've done all of these things. He could have taken this to the grave, but he was like, we're putting this out. This is now, we had the money. This is now a quote finished project. Imagine saying this is finished. Of all the things you could change and edit and do, having the center to be like, we're done with this. We're putting it out. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ira Glass from NPR, but
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I am.
A little bit.
he
Yeah.
has an amazing quote that I'm about to butcher right now, but it's something along the lines of like, when you start making art, you have really great taste, but you don't have the skills to back up your taste. So it's easy to like never release anything that you make because you're just embarrassed by everything that you do. And it's just not a good way to grow as an artist. You have to put that stuff out. Imagine working on something for 30 years
Yeah.
and just having, 20
That's
years,
it.
10 years, whatever, and just being like, this has to go out.
This is
I know,
literally his baby. Like
his
he,
baby, and it's got to go out now. There's no more
Yeah.
time to wait, no more edits, no more adding a scene. It's got to go out. Imagine putting that out into the world and then having people being like, it looks cool, but visually, and it's a fun thing. Yeah, 0 out of 10 for the plot. Fucking sucks. And you're like, what? Hang on. People bled into this, man. Like,
luckily for him, this movie has like critical acclaim. So
oh yes,
thankfully
And-
it worked out well.
yes, and he made this film for us, for people to sit and discuss it and talk about how each one of us viewed it differently, and we all thought it was brilliant. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was for. Like he that's a win in my book. If I were him, I'd be like,
Fuck yeah.
yes, mission accomplished. You know,
Dude, if I made something like this, I would feel like the fucking
all day.
man, dude. I would be like,
Oh,
damn,
yeah.
I'm awesome.
You would be the man.
Fuck
And
yeah.
you would be awesome.
Phil Tippett is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I could not agree more.
So,
Holy shit.
when I first found out how long it took to get this movie made, the first movie I thought of was the movie Book of Henry, which I doubt any of you have seen. But it's this
Have
movie.
not.
Oh god, it's so bad, bro. It's so bad. It was
Oh, no.
directed by this guy Colin Trevorrow, he said he was writing on it for like 10 plus years. He spent
Oh,
workshopping
no.
and writing this movie, and released quite possibly the biggest piece of trash I've ever seen. Like in a
Oh
bad way.
no.
It's so terrible. And like I think about how that movie, when you watch it, you can see that it's because he just wrote himself into oblivion. And then you compare
All
it
day.
against this, where Tippett's knew what he wanted to do from start. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it feels like a very singular focus on this instead of just constantly workshopping himself until he's wrote himself into a pit.
It's like when you edit something and you've watched it 10 times, and by the time you play it back to fresh eyes, they're like, what do you got going on here, guy? And you've watched that edit so many times you don't even know what you're seeing anymore. And you got to
Yeah.
just go back to the root of it. Like, yeah, fresh eyes. It takes a lot to imagine watching this as an editor, watching these scenes over and over and over. Can we check on that editor? Are they okay? They have witnessed a lot, because there were things that were too gruesome and cut out of this film, and that editor had to make that choice. Oh, rest in peace, whoever cut this film. Thank you for your service.
Now
Yeah,
we'll come back to say all the elements, the sound editing, the music,
all of it.
like
Oh,
this,
so
this,
good.
this world. Yeah, I know I keep coming back to, I can't take my eyes away from the screen, but just is an experience.
The music in this
and-
movie is incredible.
And even, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's Phil Tippett's baby, but again, recognizing proper collaboration, having people buy you, having people encourage you to finish something.
It does feel like a collaborative effort.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Topping it off with the Kickstarter as the collaborative cherry on top. Community made,
Pure collab.
Yeah, this movie wouldn't have been half as good if it had been under some studio. You know what I mean?
No.
Oh God, can you imagine the network execs like, so when they shit directly into his mouth and then that becomes more shit, which is then regurgitated again, do we have to? Yes, it's staying in.
Yeah, it all stays
Yes.
in. Fuck you.
Yeah, right.
Oh shit.
So yeah, we got ratings.
I did have a couple more things that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Just a couple other scenes that I really fucking loved, because they just deserve to be pointed out because this movie's amazing. Did not see Shadow Puppet undressing coming. That was interesting.
Yeah, with the laughter and the cheers from the audience.
Yeah, there's like it's like a fucking audience. I don't know, man. The fact that this movie used so many different forms of like mixed media, like that also is very impressive to me because it works. Like it doesn't look weird and out of place or anything when suddenly there's an actual human walking around in the stop motion animated movie, which is crazy.
Was that a nod to Mystery Science Theater? The people, the silhouetted shots backlit.
It could be.
It could be.
I mean, it almost feels like if you grew up watching that, which a creative type, I could see Phil Tippett being,
well, he's
immersed in
older.
something. Right. Like, I could see this being a nod. Like, we put this in. It's. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. It just felt that way.
It hit its right points of humor. I mean, when we see
that
a
was
bunch of
just
crickets
right
playing
there.
poker in the basement of a feeding chamber of chameleon fucking spider orbs and
Oh God.
anyway,
so much of it, yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to go back to that clock scene, like with how it was ticking and like the timing on the ticking would change in such a weirdly random way as to make, at least for me, almost physically ill. Like I literally, dude, at a certain point when it waited for like a little too long and I was like, it has to be right now. And then it's still like another 10 seconds and then it ticks. I was like, all right, I can't watch this anymore. And like literally had to walk away for like a couple minutes.
Oh, dude. Almost. I've eaten potato chips in the last 48 hours because there's no digesting happening.
No, that's the other thing. I was like eating some like what did I have? Like some candy or something, and like the second that any of that shit started, I was like, well, I don't get to eat for the rest of this, I guess.
Yeah,
and don't make me feel like I'm weird. I was eating chicken the entire time I was watching this movie.
Jesus Christ, Jeff!
What are you, Jeff?
He's a known psychopath.
Potato wedges, bro.
I was gonna call it back because Will's talking about a feeling that I had on High Life because how sound. How maybe even the combination of visual and sound can make you physically ill.
Yeah.
There was a scene in High Life that did that to me where I had to stop the movie for 5 minutes and take a breath from what I just experienced. Anyway,
which scene?
It's the murder scene where dude gets shivved by the female passenger.
Okay.
I don't know if Dan's seen it. So
I have not.
So you're more talking about like the content specifically.
We're the sound editing in that scene did me in. Is what I'm
sound editing, because
sound editing and the sound material really.
And that kind of leads me into another thing is like the sound design in this movie is fucking unbelievably good.
Like, terrifying. Yeah,
dude, all elements of this movie were just combined so well.
They so are, but like I do specifically want to point out like the tank battle scene. The sound design during that is some of the best sound design I've ever heard in anything. Like it's so fucking good. Just all those weird like clank noises that they had, like click 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 for all the tanks and stuff, and just the explosions, like it all, I don't know. And then like he's just in his little car, like slowly driving through.
But that pendulum swings both ways because you get these like great metal clinks and clangs, and then you also get this like super hyper realistic schlorping. Every blood is on the screen.
Dude literally wrote, cool surgery scene, bro. Especially love the slurping and jelly-like blood everywhere. Thanks, Knack.
We've discovered that the anatomy of an assassin consists of books and jewelry.
Yeah,
treasure. It's just treasure that you're just pulling out of there.
I worked so hard to forget about that scene. It's now just right back inside. So thank you for that. I had to force that out, felt like capitalism. That was the jab at capitalism, right? Like we will eat each other. We will literally dig until there's nothing left into someone just for their pure monetary value of like doubloons. You know, it was
He
like
did just kept going in there, and I was like, okay,
like
this
there's
has
nothing
to
left of him.
stop.
It was like I'm just gonna keep digging until it's like so far past human at that point until it's like here we go, the little bit of money I can pull out of this. It was like, oh, was that worth it? It's
Bro, it
like,
felt like a fucking Tool video.
Dude,
all
yes,
right, how much do you spend on gloves alone? That gold better be worth a lot. I mean, God.
My little brother said that this reminded him a lot of some Tool video shit for sure.
Yeah.
And I could definitely see that.
Of some backstage footage from the Tool concert. I could
Yes.
see that depending on the victim. Yeah, for sure. They got to sacrifice a couple per show.
I also love the fact that the surgery scene was also a birthing scene. So thank you for that too.
Oh,
Just scrambling his brain. Poor Dan.
I don't need to sleep tonight.
No, just think of the slurping, buddy.
Yeah, just remember the slurps.
There's all the touches of this movie. Oh yeah, keep going, Will.
Oh, go ahead, Nick. Yeah, I mean, I've got plenty more.
The lighting,
You know me.
when the assassin has this blue lamp and is just going down the stairs before that mechanical guardian captures him before planting the
So
bomb.
eerie.
I know lighting is always the most, probably one of the most vital pieces of animation. Lighting is
Of
essential.
filmmaking in general. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Golden hour.
It's
Right?
yeah. Again, just gushing the elements of this movie.
No, I know what you mean, because that scene, like, it's like Dan said, it's fucking eerie because the lighting is so well done right there. Like,
Terrifying.
and that's this whole movie is just like little touches like that just amp it up and bring it to that next level of just like fucking impressiveness. It's just
in a lot of ways he's not scared to show you all of it. You know what I mean? Like I think about the idea in horror that if you have a monster, you want to keep him in the dark, or you want to keep him like off screen, or not show the whole thing.
Right.
There's a term for it, but in this movie, it feels confident. He builds these huge sets, he builds these monsters, he builds these pieces, and then he lights them in a way where you really get to absorb all of it.
It's to show you, not to hide it from you.
Yeah.
Or tease you with it. It's, you're right, to show you. Yeah.
all the gory six-titted detail.
Yes.
All that raspberry jam on the wall.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're all pretty much. Oh yeah, go ahead, Will.
Nak, we can stop whatever, man. You know how I am. I can keep going for
Yeah, I
a
was just gonna
while,
say
but-
if we're all just gonna be gushing about the movie for the rest of the cast.
Oh,
we might
yeah.
as well get to
Movie
ratings.
reviews.
I got like one more. Let me get
yeah.
one more in here. Yeah, okay, two more. Okay. Skin sewing Sears. That's like the most badass metal thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. So
Dude, that's the Greek fates.
dude, that's sick as hell. Is that wait,
Yeah, that's
wait, is that
Tropos,
what
Clotho, and Lachesis?
Oh, that's wait, yeah, you're right. That is oh, that's fucking sick.
There's even like a little Hercules, like they're passing the eyeball around.
Yes. Oh my god, I didn't even put that together. That's fucking
Wow.
amazing.
I didn't either.
Wow,
I
this movie is
did.
good.
Connected, Jeff is.
This movie is so good. And then the other thing was the poop scoopers. I fucking love those guys. Favorite characters for sure.
It's like got brutally electrified for like 5.5
Everything's
minutes.
either getting electrified, chopped, or just
Stepped
ground
on.
into
Shit on.
transmogrified into gold dust.
There's so many people getting stepped on in this movie. I'm surprised there wasn't a special thanks for Quentin fucking Tarantino.
For Tarantino.
It was very foot heavy. Yes.
This should have been Stomp the Musical.
Yes. I think in a lot of ways it was. Because after watching Stomp the Musical, this is the hell that I think I would rather put myself through. So I think in a real way it was.
Well, Dan, you just secured yourself a spot on Five Guys Movies and Fries.
Yeah.
Yay! Interview
Qualifiers, man.
over.
Damn.
How do you feel about feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love them. How do you feel about choking?
Into it.
Into it.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, let's do some ratings. Otherwise, we'll just sit here and
start
jack
our
this movie
ratings.
off for 20 more minutes.
I hope
I'm
we have
gonna
a
give
cue
this-
that's like ratings. Like a little sound thing.
Shock Jock Radio.
The raw ratings.
I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
hot take.
this movie feels like it was made just for me, bro. I know I say that a lot, but like legitimately, this movie spoke to me, bro. I'm gonna watch this movie several times.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I don't know if this movie was made for me, but this is like my kind of shit. Whenever Nack shows up with one of these fucking weirdo foreign movies or just fucking weirdo movies, I'm so fucking happy. 10 out of 10. Yeah, everything's amazing. Obviously, sound design, atmosphere, animation, everything. It's all good. I love it.
Me?
Yeah, what do you got, Joe?
Okay. Yep. This is clearly Phil Tippett's masterpiece. I thought it's really great. I don't need to gush anymore. You guys have done it all. But I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Solid.
Nice. And what about
Oh
you, Dan?
boy. So this is tough to put a number on only because of the fact that if I put a 10 on it, that means that all the other films that I put as 10s I want to watch as much as this one. It's a dilemma.
And you
What I
don't
will
want to
say
watch this
is-
again, as you've said.
The reason that I have to give this a hard 8.9. I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm sorry, I'm gonna give it a 9 so that there doesn't have to be a weird 8.9 in there. I'm giving this a 9. The reason I can't give it a 10 is only because it was a little bit much for me on a personal level in terms of I'm not a gross out horror guy. I
Yeah.
have a lot of
Same.
appreciation for it. I love Cronenberg. Some of his stuff's too much for me, as much as I love it, right? So it's
Yeah.
just in that wheelhouse of like, if The Fly had 30 minutes less of Jeff Goldblum's face, to me, they would have been a 10. But I can't handle any, there's a limit for me. And so on that, it's getting a 9. In effectiveness, it's getting a 17 out of 10. Well done, Dr. Phil Tippett. I was blown out of the water by this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Holy
'cause,
shit.
I mean, everybody has their limits, and this movie had a lot to sit through, a lot of
It was tough.
stomach churning
It
shit
was-
to
Yeah.
get through.
It's I think it speaks a lot that the thing that pushed me away from this movie the most was just the amount of baby crying.
The baby crying was so
No
stressful.
baby
It was
crying.
so stressful for me.
And
When I hear
baby
baby crying,
Baby
it's
crying
stress.
is one of the hardest sounds to deal with.
It is.
I tolerate. I was better with the baby giving orders to
And that's why
carry
it's so
moldy shit
effective.
people.
Like in public, I'll slap the shit out of that kid. But when it's a movie and I don't have the control over it, that's where it becomes uncomfortable. You know, you can shake a baby, they'll quiet down immediately. Seriously, it's
Choke a movie out with
instant.
a pillow.
Yeah. You don't even have to shake them hard. It's a couple and they're done. So, but with this, when I can't turn it off, that was stressful for me. And that's yeah.
It's so funny that bothered you guys so much because it was almost like white noise to me. Like I'm so used to my baby crying now that I just like it literally didn't bother me at all. I'm just like, oh, it's like a baby crying, whatever.
You just imagine you with like
this
an
was like
Amazon white noise machine with that sound, and you just
Yeah.
drift off to sleep. Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
No.
have to tell you I love watching this movie for like the 5th time. I am, and anybody who hasn't seen this should go out and watch it.
Yes.
Like if you have any appreciation for the visual effects you've seen in the past 4 decades of blockbuster movies and other things, Phil Tippett's hand is definitely still crafting the cinematic world with experience, with anybody influenced in his own experience. But I am giving this a 9 out of 10.
Whoa.
I'm
Well said.
I thought you were gonna. I thought Dan was saying he was giving it a hard 9 for a certain reason. I'm giving it 1 point deduction for Joel is a hard R. Joel was it's getting a deduction for that. It's getting a point missing for that.
Yeah.
Because whatever animator just wanted to put that into there it didn't fit. It didn't belong.
And where did that sneak in? Because I remember it, but I don't.
There there was like a scene where the camera was panning past like a wall, I want to say, and it was just on.
It's before the assassin reaches the like the descending spiraling ramp.
Okay.
He's
Okay.
it's right. It's
Because
pretty close to the point where he's going through the alleyway and seeing the Minotaur getting a hand job and
Oh, bro.
it's right around there. Yeah, it's right around that
That's
fucking
what it
3-minute
said.
frame. He was in the
Minotaur
Jeep. He was in the
hand.
Jeep drill going by, and yeah.
And
That's our second assassin. That's the assassin I believe was a previous assassin with like an original map or something.
I now completely understand your joke from earlier, where when you were, and I was like, where did that come from? Because I missed like what it said. I just remember seeing text there and being like, what was that? You know, like not rewinding it. Wow. Okay. That, and I agree that, yes, if that's what it says on there, you could have pulled that out. You could have stuck something over it. But again, yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm glad everybody loved this movie. It seemed like
What if we got to the
yeah.
end and Knack was like, like he just was gushing the whole time. He was like 6 out of 10. Oh, good, not great.
Shoot.
Would not recommend.
The thing we forgot to touch on before hopping on, Will is starting off our Shakespeare run.
Well,
Not Shakespeare.
God.
Not
Oh
quite.
no, play. That's right, play adaptations.
Play adaptations, yeah.
yeah,
That's it. Thank
movie
you.
is based on plays.
That's it. Do you
Interesting.
have?
That is like
Yeah.
my favorite genre of movie. It's one of them.
I love
Absolutely. Can't argue with that.
I'm excited for this run.
I do have one.
Would you like
As
to
usual, it's a movie I haven't seen, but I've wanted to very, very long time. And it is a true classic from what I've heard.
If you recommend Cats, I swear to God, I'm leaving the podcast.
I'm worried you're going to pick mine.
Hold on, guys. I got to use the bathroom. No, we're going with Glenn Ross, boys.
David Mamet, I was about to call it. Has to be Mamet.
Hey,
Love it.
Okay.
Can't wait to
I'm
watch
in.
this movie. I've heard it's amazing. So
It is amazing. It is.